You're listening to the HNC Let's Talk podcast, hosted by Dexter Brooks. Thanks for tuning in to HNC Let's Talk podcast. We partner with subject matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Good afternoon. My name is Dexter Brooks, and I'm your host today with HNC Let's Talk podcast. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we do have our co-host joining in with us today, which is Demetrius Radin Johnson. Hey, Demetrius, are you with me today?
Hey, how's it going there, Dex?
Going well, man. Going well. Cannot complain. How about yourself?
Yeah, things are going pretty good. I can't complain. Things are still pretty hot down here in Tennessee, but overall, everything's going really good. Awesome,
man. Awesome. I know the weather's supposed to be changing pretty soon. Hopefully that'll kick in next week.
Yeah, you guys got those fires still going on out there. It's still pretty hot and pretty dry out there. It was good to have the opportunity to come out there to Denver. But yeah, it's definitely very, very dry out there, and I hope everything works out with those fires and things. Hopefully they can get that under control here soon.
Well, I think they've done a great job at it so far. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen. I believe most likely we should have some insight, some resolutions probably within the next few weeks. I know some of them have been under control, I think about 60-70%. But other than that, we will see.
We will see.
So what is it that you wanted to talk to the audience today about on your podcast?
Well, today I really just wanted to have conversations. We've been kind of going on this theme of creating generational wealth, and we've talked a little bit about life insurance and investments and how those play a role in creating generational wealth, and education. And we've also talked about the secured savings plan that in Colorado is going to be rolling out here pretty soon, and that's kind of a big deal. But I also wanted to talk to people about, just financial wellness in general, because when you're talking about financial health and you're talking about accumulating wealth and getting your bills paid on time and making sure your financial house is in order, that ties into a lot of other aspects of people's lives that I don't think that people really have an entire grasp on how much it can affect things. And money and finance, can affect a number of different things in your personal life. I mean, they say that, 50%, 55% of all marriages end in divorce, and of all marriages, 50% of all divorces, 50% of those are as a result of some sort of financial situation. So
are those numbers still that high, or have they come down at all?
Well, that was kind of the last I heard. That was a few years ago. I know that, millennials and people after millennials are tending to, it seems like, hold off on marriage a little bit longer. So those numbers might be, within a certain percentage margin of error. But I think that the trend is still pretty significant when it comes to, why are, people having maybe relationship issues? How is their financial health, affecting, other aspects of their life? And, when you talk about wellness, oftentimes people talk about psychological wellness and they talk about emotional wellness, but there's also financial wellness. And they can, overlap a little bit there, because a lack of financial wellness can lead to emotional stress, mental stress, and that kind of thing. And so, you can end up in this loop of, negativity sometimes if your financial health is not in order. And it's something that's very important.
Now, I know that has to be a big factor today.
Talk about creating generational.
Now, I was just saying, I know that has to be a big factor today, because especially I know that with so many people being unemployed and the fact that they no longer have that extra income coming in, that $600 that was put into the unemployment. So people are now receiving less money. I mean, the stress levels has got to be extremely high.
The stress levels are high. We're talking about, we've got political climate that's going on. We've got different things culturally that are going on in our country. And you talk about with the stimulus and that amount being decreased or going away potentially at one point or another, it will go away. And so, people's mental and emotional health as it pertains to, their financial security is something that, people need to at least be aware of how it can affect them. Because sometimes, I personally have been in situations where I'm like, why am I acting funny? Why am I acting this way? What's going on with me?
Yeah, the slightest little thing sort of gets you teed off really easily.
Yeah, and there's always this joke when people talk about, when you mess with my money, you messing with my emotions, and that and that's true. It's true. It's that way. Next to people's family, their money is, the second most thing that they tend to be emotional about. And so
what do you suggest, especially with an economic climate being as volatile? I just say volatile as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
How can someone think about financial wealth when you're going through this volatility?
Yeah, and that's the thing. As I have assembled, my team of people that I work with on the, financial wellness and helping people, we also have folks that, can help them to some degree with the emotional side of finance. And, because everybody has this is one of the things that I had to learn as I got older, was that different people have different relationships with money and with finances. And so some of the people on my team are equipped to, not only provide, financial support in the way of, helping to create a financial plan and that kind of thing. But then we also have a couple of folks that have degrees in mental health. And I also work with some people that are associates and people that I know and trust that, I've referred clients to say, hey, I can see that, there's been a death in the family. Yeah, you may be a client of mine and I'm here to, deliver that life insurance, policy check death benefits to you. But, how about we also, deal with how you're dealing with the situation? How are you dealing with this loss in your family? And so, when I think of financial wellness, and it tends to come up with my life insurance clients more often than not. That's where I tend to, the emotional side of my business comes into play, is on the life insurance side. When somebody actually passes away, there's emotional support that may be needed there. And so we have people that we can refer our clients to, and whatever people do, people have their maybe their faith that they lean back on, or maybe they meditate or do things like that. And that can help them. But it's a vital part of creating generational wealth, is that you make sure that you're emotionally healthy as well. There's, emotions attached to finance, and we need to make sure that people are okay with themselves, internally. And so that's something that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today, because I don't think that it's a topic that's really addressed much. But I think that it's very, very important, because your financial health can have an impact on your medical health. And so
how does life insurance tie into this?
Well, with life insurance, when we talk about some of the stresses in a number of different ways, when we talk about some of the stresses that folks are being exposed to right now with COVID, and like I said, political things and all that, when I'm talking to my clients now, even though it's a downtime, even though it's financially, difficult for them, and they may be going through a wide range of emotions and things, I like to just make sure that people, continue the path. When markets are volatile like this, I talk to people on the investment side about staying the course. When it comes to the life insurance side of things, especially with COVID, with everything that's going on right now, people are realizing that, tomorrow is not promised, and they're, come face to face with their own mortality. And so, like they say,
See.
yeah.
So, but my question is like, how does life insurance play a part? I know there's different types of life insurance because we had the podcast about that. We talked about the whole life, the adjustable life. So how does that play a part into building that financial wealth, especially during times of volatile stress?
Stress. Well, life insurance, like you said, when we talked about the different types of life insurance, like with whole life and with term, and when you connect, those types of policies with your overall plan. Say, for instance, if I'm talking to a client and we have set up a plan where they have both whole life and they have term, and then they're looking at the market right now and they're saying the market's very volatile. What do I do? Should I pull some money out? Should I stay the course? Should I keep investing? Do this, do that? I have to remind them that, of the buckets of money that they have allocated toward their financial plan, that they might be experiencing a little less volatility in their portfolio as a result of some of the cash value that is built up in their whole life policy. So while they might be experiencing some volatility in their stock market, the stock market and their retirement plan is not inclusive of their whole financial plan. So yeah, they have a retirement plan, but they also have life insurance planning, and they also have, like I said, that cash value that is in the whole life or the permanent policies that's not exposed to a lot of the market volatility that's out there. And that's why it's really beneficial for people to have both, to have the protection in place and the offense of the investments in place. And so when the investments aren't doing as well, or when the investments are volatile, you have that peace of mind to know that within your whole life policy, you have this cash value that's sitting there that's guaranteed. It's not going to lose you any money. So whole life, when it comes to the overall planning of things, can help lower the overall risk of the financial plan. While it's not a part of the investment portfolio, it is, adjacent to it. It is off to the side, and it does help to limit the overall risk exposure to the client.
So would you say, so the adjustable life insurance or the variable life insurance would play a more of a part on the stock part of it? As far as the
when you say adjustable life, like they have like variable life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with variable life insurance, that life insurance product itself has an investment component that's attached to that product, and it's determined by the performance of the underlying investments that are within the separate account attached to that life insurance policy. So that's variable life. And so with variable life, I don't sell a whole lot of variable life insurance. I think that it's a great product, but because of the very specific work that I do with clients, I sell, I don't know, I guess of the types of life insurance that I normally deal with, I would say whole life, term life, universal life of various types, and then sometimes variable life insurance. So I would say, with variable life insurance, I'm a big proponent personally of keeping investments and life insurance separate. And variable life insurance is a product that combines them together. And while variable life insurance can be a great fit for a lot of folks, most of the clients that I deal with prefer to keep them separate, because with variable life insurance, there are additional costs that are baked into the product that sometimes clients are aware of. And I have figured out ways in which I can accomplish similar goals with fewer expenses. And so while sometimes variable life is a great product for folks, Sometimes it's not. And so when you're dealing with someone that has knowledge of all the different types of life insurance, you can really get something that's catered to what you need specifically. And so where variable life is, is useful, or where it's beneficial to the client, and what they're trying to do, I definitely recommend variable life. But there are ways to accomplish similar things with, blending a whole life policy and having a separate investment account where you have a little bit more control over the investments there. So, there's so many, like we talked about before, there's so many types of life insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most people are only aware of either, term life and whole life. And so they are kind of limited to those, to their own knowledge set when they go shopping for life insurance. But that's why it's so important for people to talk to a licensed professional when it comes to, selecting, the type of life insurance they want. Because, like I said, with every financial plan, all of my clients are on two very distinct paths. There is the wealth accumulation path, and that path takes a while. It doesn't happen instantaneously, but that defensive side and that protection side of the financial plan with the life insurance is something that can take place instantaneously. And so as people are having, thinking about their finances, and, this is a good time for review.
Let's look at those types of policies, because like you said, you got the whole life policy, you got the adjustable life policy, you got the variable life insurance policy, the universal life insurance policy, and then you have the term life insurance policy. And that's just a few.
That's just a few. And there are different variations of those types of insurances. There's different types of whole life. There's, different companies package these products up differently. And so, you may go to one place and you're talking about whole life, and then you go, say you're going to New York Life or MetLife or Mass Mutual, whoever, and you talk to a rep there and they make a recommendation on whole life. And then you go to another life insurance rep, and they may recommend something different based on the products that they have available at their firm. And so even within, those subsets of, whole life, term, and variable life, and universal life, and what have you, there's variations of those types as well. And so, that's
question for you. So what is it that the consumer looks for? So is the consumer just basically looking at the dollar amount? Say like a person's looking at, say, a person wants to buy a $50,000 to $1 million policy. That's the only thing they're looking at is the dollar amount, the death benefit. Basically, they're not actually looking at the type of policy it is. They're just looking at the death benefit.
Well, and that's what I would caution people not to do, actually, is to not look at strictly the death benefit, because, say, for instance, you have a need for $500,000, or so let's say $250,000 worth of life insurance, and that's your need. And you say, well, I can get $250,000 worth of life insurance simply by buying this term policy. And say I'm 35 years old. I'm 35 years old, and this is, this is just a very general example with no other information given. But I'm in my 30s. I bought a 30-year term, and I got it really cheap, and I've got the death benefit that I need. And so I walk away, and I think I'm fine. I think I'm taken care of. Well, come retirement age, you're 65, and now you no longer have life insurance because you bought a 30-year term, or because you didn't convert the policy, or because, for whatever reason. But now you're 65 and your policy has lapsed. And yeah, you still have your investments and stuff. And you get to think, well, maybe that 30-year term wasn't what I needed. And so the type of insurance, you have to think about, what are you trying to do with this insurance? If you're trying to create a legacy, then chances are, you probably want something that's going to cover you for the entirety of your life.
That,
Or
yeah, to age 100, huh?
age 100, to age 121, whatever it is, and if it is a term policy, you got to think about, well, what's my health look like? How old am I? If I'm 70 or if I'm 60, a 25 or 20-year term might be fine. Depending on my health and a number of other things, it's like that'd be fine. But if I'm 25 and I get a 20-year term, that may not be as appropriate. The face amount or the death benefit might be right, but the type of insurance is wrong. And so, it's not just the face value, it's not just the death benefit, that is the most important thing. It's about the type, the amount. There's a number of different factors that come into play when picking the right life insurance for your needs. And so, it's about the amount, it's about the type, it's about a number of different things. So, like I said, I always recommend for people to at least talk to an advisor, an investor, or an insurance advisor, or insurance broker. And for me personally, I like being in the situation of being or in the position of being an independent producer, an independent life insurance agent, because it allows me to shop the market and kind of really tailor fit what the client needs and not have to think about, what brand name the product is, or what the name of the company is. I'm not held to any particular company that I have to deal with. And so that's
Yeah,
one of the benefits of being an independent producer, is that you can be unbiased in your recommendations.
which is a plus.
Yeah, it's a huge plus. I mean, I enjoy being an independent advisor. I enjoy, being able to really cater an insurance plan to a client. And I like to make sure that the insurance part of the plan is complementing the investment side of the plan. That's really what's important, is that things work together cohesively, and that you maximize the effectiveness of the tools that you have in your tool belt. And that's really what I try to do, because most of the people that I deal with, like I say, are very middle class people. Could be 50,000, 100,000, $150,000 income, and a lot of folks are first generation college graduates, and they want to create a stage or platform by which they can help to create generational wealth and legacy for their family. So it's important to get it right.
Yeah. Because I know we talked about that on one of the podcasts. We was talking about the fact that most people should look at the idea of starting off young. Like if you just had a newborn, the child's now 2 years old, finding a policy for that child and start from that point on and move forward. Don't wait until you're 60 years old and then think about getting a life insurance policy, or don't wait until you're 45 years old and then start to think about getting a life insurance policy.
Yeah, I think I got my first life insurance policy. I think I was in my 20s. I think it must have been around 22. And I had just a small policy, and it was through my employer. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't really think about life insurance in my career until about halfway through, about till 10 years through. And so it wasn't that big of a concern to me until, one, I had my daughter, and then two, I educated myself about the importance of life insurance. It was always one of those things that people really didn't want to talk about. And so,
yeah, we talked about that myth too. All right, why they don't talk about the life insurance policy?
Why don't people talk
They're gonna
about
put a curse on you. It's like you're gonna die next month because you decide to get a life insurance policy. All of a sudden, you're gonna get hit by a car. So
right. That's not how it works. It's not, when you buy life insurance, you are not willing things into existence. You're protecting yourself, you're protecting your financial plan, you're protecting your financial, wellness, and, it's just one of those things that, especially again in the Black community, we have to have these conversations about why these things are so important, and we've got people, back to the emotional side of things, there are people in our, cultural climate right now where, people, it's rough out there, and tomorrow is not promised. And so, it's important that we take care of our loved ones and that we, are properly protected and that we ensure the value, of our life financially, at least, to the best of our ability, I think is important.
Yep. Yep.
From a business standpoint, I'm always wanting to get clients. I always want to get life insurance clients, and because of some of the philanthropic things that I'm attempting to do, I'm allocating some of the money that I make from the life insurance to local communities and what have you. But in addition to that, each family that I speak with and we talk about life insurance, they tell me about, oh, I want my kid to go to college and I want my kid to, not have debt. And I want these sort of things. Life insurance is something that has guarantees that are baked into it that can afford families, a means by which to fulfill their financial goals. And so, investments can do that as well. But when you use them in concert with one another, it can, compound the effects. It can greatly impact someone's retirement plan by putting life insurance in place.
So what other good points do you have for the audience today on life insurance? Or basically, I'm not going to say on wellness, building wellness. So because we talked about the new portfolio plan that's coming up in Colorado. I forgot what the name of it is.
Yeah, the Secure Savings Program. I actually just got off the phone with the Treasurer's office about that just before our podcast here.
And how are we looking on that?
Well, things are trucking along. Things are going really well. And so that Secured Savings Program, I'm personally time invested into this program is something that I definitely am a big proponent of and believe in. And, for those people that didn't hear it on the previous podcast, basically Colorado is rolling out, a state facilitated retirement program that would be available through small business employers. So employers that have, over 5 employees, would have the option of, or actually they're not going to have the option. It's going to be mandatory that these businesses offer this retirement plan to their employees. And so the employers, it will be of no cost to the employers. They just basically act as a conduit, a doorway, a means by which the employees are able to participate in this IRA account is what it amounts to be. But because it's offered through the employer, the idea is that it will increase retirement savings amongst Coloradans by having this IRA account made available to them through their employers. And with small businesses, they don't always have a 401k plan. And so being able to, offer this to employees could help to create what's been estimated to be a $10 billion impact over the next 15 years. And so, and that $10 billion impact comes in the way of reduced use of state resources for retirees who maybe did not plan as well for retirement. And so it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. We're going to set things up in such a way that it's going to be cost neutral. And I've been happy to be a part of the board for this. And we're going to reconvene here soon. The COVID, everything going on with COVID has caused us to kind of put a pause on things, but we're going to be back at it here in September. And so they're going to be, now that we've done the research to say that this is something that we want to do and that is right for Colorado, now comes the part where we implement this secured savings plan. And, we have got to pick the investment options and, and everything. We're going to sample from a couple of other states, but we're going to create something that's unique and beneficial to the small business employees of Colorado. I'm really, really excited about it. And, hopefully I'll be on the implementation board, but in one way or another, I'll be participating with that coming up here through the rest of this year and in 2021. So that'll be pretty cool.
I really think you should be on the implementation board with this, because you've started out from the grassroots from beginning, and it in and out. So I think it would be a great idea. So who's out there listening to me or listening to the podcast, give a shout out to Demetrius Radin Johnson to make sure he is part of this. Mayor Hancock, Governor Governor Polis.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Governor Polis who's going to have the final word on this, and so hopefully he keeps me on board for this implementation team. And I'm just really happy to be a part of it, because I think that the impact is going to be great. I think that the long-term effect, it's not one of those bills that is getting a lot of press, but it is one that,
which is surprising. Why is it not getting a lot of press? Is there just too much going on right now with the election?
Exactly. Everything is going on right now, and it's just a lot. But the Secure Savings Program is a big deal. It's a big deal to small business employees, and it's a big deal to people who own small businesses. It's also a big deal to people who are just generally concerned about retirement savings, because, I was thinking about it with this secured savings plan and this IRA, this could be a conduit or a bucket of money. When you leave a company and you've got a 401k plan, we talked about this in a previous podcast. It's like, well, what do? Do you leave that money there? Do you leave it at the 401k plan at the employer, or do you roll it into an IRA? Well, this plan is something that's portable, that you can bring from employer to employer. So, if you do have a 401k, in theory, you would be able to roll that into this plan. And, it's not just limited to small business employees, in the sense that, say, for instance, you go work at, Joe's solar company that has, 20 employees, right? And so you set up this secured savings program through them, and you put some money into it. Then you say, oh, now I'm working at this major corporation, and they offer a 401k plan. Okay. So now you're participating in the 401k plan. You say, oh, I don't like this major corporation anymore. I'm going to go work for small business again. Well, you can roll that 401k money into that secured savings program that you had at that big corporation. And so this secured savings program, depending on how you use it, could potentially be kind of like the anchor of all of your rollover assets, potentially. I think
quick question. How has the small business community reacted to this? Because this is not it's not voluntarily that they jump into this. This is like mandatory that they have to do this. So that's been, for a while, that was kind of a point of contention. It was like, well, what are we going to do if we really want to increase retirement savings? How do we get employers to offer this to their employees? Okay. And so there had to be some sort of punitive, and it hasn't been determined quite yet, but my understanding is that there will be potentially some sort of small, financial charge to the businesses if they're not in compliance with this plan. It's one of those things to where the employee has the ability to elect out of this plan. It is something that is not mandatory for them to participate in, but the employers must offer it to their employees. And so that part of it is mandatory to the employer. So very similarly to how employers have to give you your COBRA information when you leave them. But that's for a certain size group, though. Certain size employer.
for a certain size employer. So it's just one of the onboarding or offboarding parts of, taking on a new employee. And so the goal is to make it easy for the employers, to make it to be no cost to the employer, or to make it to where if there are any additional costs, that they could either potentially be reimbursed for those costs, or that, again, we haven't implemented the plan yet, but if I were on the board, I would make it as palatable. I would strive to make it as palatable as possible for the employers, because the whole goal is to, benefit the employee and the employer, because offering a retirement plan to your employees has proven to be a good means by which to increase retention of employees. The more benefits that you offer to your employees is shown that the attrition rate tends to go down a little bit lower. So the way that I would envision it, so far as ease of use, would be that when you start with your new employer and you sign up for your health benefits, you've got to go to a website and click a bunch of buttons and sign up for your health benefits, that there might be an additional website that you would go to. And this is kind of how it works in some of the other states, is that there's a website that you go to and you just click on it and you enroll, and then the money comes out of your paycheck and goes into this IRA account. Or if you don't want the money, again, to go into the IRA account, you can opt out of it as well.
But does it cost the employers anything at all?
No, it should not cost the employer anything. If the employer does find some sort of cost entailed in setting this up and things, there was conversations about maybe a means by which they would be able to send that to the state or to the board or whomever, however it's going to be structured, and they would be able to get reimbursed for those costs. We don't want it to be an additional expense per se to the employer at all.
Okay. So it's more or less since there is no cost, it's just basically time that the employer has to invest in.
That's the main thing. That's the main thing is the time. The small business employer would, have to educate themselves to some level about, how the plan works and how to instruct their new employees on how to enroll. Yeah, because there's a lot of companies with the gig economy. So like we've got Uber and we've got Lyft and all those kind of folks. And it's like, perhaps on their onboarding process, maybe they would, employees would click a link and then those Uber employees would be able to participate and have an IRA that comes out, IRA contributions that come out of their money that they get paid every month or however often they take pay. It's one of those things where I think the majority of the people that are going to be affected by this, the majority of small businesses that are going to be affected the most are going to be those ones that are right at about 5 employees. The ones that are at like 10 or 15 or 20 employees, most of those guys are at a point now where they have some sort of human resources or some sort of, not even human resources, but someone that is able administrative person. Yeah. I wouldn't even say it should take a human resources person to handle this. It would be just, maybe an admin or maybe the employer themselves. One of the persons that was on the board who brought about a lot of great perspective was Pete Turner, and he's the owner of Illegal Pete's. And so, he's got.
I love their hot wings.
What's that?
I love their hot wings.
Oh yeah. They got good hot wings. They've got good burritos, and I think he brought some breakfast burritos one time, and they were delicious. I love Illegal Pete's. But he's got maybe 400 employees or so, and he says, well, how is this going to work for my kind of business? And so we had to really think about it. And that's why it was so important during the research phase of this secured savings program that the board members have different backgrounds. So we had a few financial professionals, we had retiree, we had a college person on there, and we had some business owners on there as well. And so we wanted to board, and I think that that's going to be consistent with this next board as well. And so
So
some of the questions that you raise are common questions.
So did you guys think about the idea of pushing this over to the brokers?
Well, what do you mean? So far as, well, so here's the deal. So when you're talking about pushing it over to the brokers, like pushing it over to like the independent guys or the advisors that are out there, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And so as an advisor, see, my perspective and two other of the folks that were on the board, we had similar thoughts about this. And that is that a lot of advisors out there are going to they will see it as an opportunity.
Right.
Advisors, they're going to see this, when I'm looking at this plan through the lens of a financial professional, if I'm acting in the capacity of an advisor, I'm saying, well, this gives me a reason to reach out to people. This gives me a way that I can, go out and prospect, from a business standpoint. I'm saying there's this new type of retirement plan coming out and you need to talk to me about it, and I feel like that's how a lot of advisors are going to look at this, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. I think it's a good thing. I think that more people that are talking to financial professionals, the better. But yeah, this is one of those things where I think advisors and the brokers are going to see it as an opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the way I'm looking at it. That's why it came into my mind. So why hasn't this been pushed over to the brokers and the advisors as an opportunity to open the door to provide another piece of the puzzle from portfolio standpoint for the business?
Yeah, that's how I see it. When there was opposition to this years ago, when I was testifying at the Capitol, there were folks from firms that I won't name, but there were folks that originally opposed this, and I think they were looking at it through the wrong lens. They were thinking that this was going to take money away from firms through, from the big brokerages and stuff. And so, but I didn't really see it that way. I saw it as potentially an opportunity for them. I saw it as being mutually beneficial for both three ways beneficial to the employer, the employee, and to the advisors, and also to the state's budget as well, because it will help, save that valuable, $10 billion over the next 15 years. So, it's shown great success so far in California and other states. I mean, $10 billion is nothing to scoff at. I said, well, if we can help people better save for retirement through making a plan more easily accessible, I'm all for it. It's just a matter of how it is constructed. That's the most important thing. And that's why I wanted to be on the board, because, something of this importance, I think, deserves to be constructed in a very thoughtful way, because if it's done properly, it can have even a greater impact than was projected, is my belief.
All right, Mr. Demetrius. So we're going to get ready to wrap this up. What would you like to leave with the guests today, with our audience?
Well, I just want folks to, remain focused and, remain emotionally centered to some degree as much as possible. It's chaotic out there, because it's chaotic. I mean, I watch the news, and I try not to watch the news as much. There's popular networks out there, and I'm like, all right, I need to limit my time to watching this all this news, because some of that negative energy and some of that, it can affect you. It can affect your health, right? And so, and from a mindset and trying to tie loose ends here together. But, when it comes to life insurance, you know, think about financial wellness, think about taking care of yourself, think about making sure that, mentally, emotionally through these chaotic times that you're okay. We've got a lot of civil unrest going on out there, and that all can have an effect on your health. And, I just want people to remain healthy, remain positive, and yeah, make sure you're focusing on your financial health, but also make sure that you're focusing on, emotional, mental health as well. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It's all for naught.
Absolutely. All right, Demetrius, I want to thank you for joining us today on HNC Let's Talk podcast. Also, I want to let our audience know this is our first official live broadcast across 4 platforms. So we are actually streaming live on Facebook. We're streaming live on YouTube. We're streaming live as well as, who else are we on? Let's see, Chit Chat. Who else? Somebody else. Can't even think of the name of the last one, but I think we're just going to continue to just stream live from now on moving forward. So that way people can actually see the guests and ask questions. And remember always to like, share, and comment when you visit our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube page, as well as our Instagram page. Is there any LinkedIn page? Is there anything that I'm leaving out right now?
We're getting out there on all the platforms there, Dexter.
Yeah, we're getting out there on all the platforms because it's like so important that everybody is able to educate themselves on ways from insurance, from life insurance, health insurance, vision, financial wealth, all across the board. And that is exactly why we are here. So until next time, everyone, be well and be safe.